everyone, welcome to another Jeff the IT Guy video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Mac Mini 2020. Yes, this is Apple's newest refresh of a product that most people have a love or hate relationship with. Personally, I love the Mac Mini myself. I think it's a novel idea. I like the fact that it's small. I just like the way it looks. Like I said, I think it's great. I've always, loved the Mac Mini. As you've seen on the channel, I'm gonna link a card to it. But we went over the late 2012 with the i7 in it with the quad-core 8 threads with some upgraded RAM and stuff. But we're gonna be looking at the Mac Mini 2020. It's not a huge refresh by any means. It just doubled the storage at the two options that you have, unless you go ahead and add extra storage. And so the one I purchased has an i7, so that's a 6-core, 12 threads with a base clock of 3.2 gigahertz, 16 gigs of RAM. You can upgrade the RAM in these. It's a little bit difficult to do, but you can do it. It's not as easy as it used to be. It's got 512 gig SSD in it. And so that's pretty much the specs that you need to know. I didn't get the 10 gig Ethernet, which you can get the 10 gig Ethernet on them now. I didn't do any of that, and so with the specs I chose, I think it was around $1,500 and some in there or something like that, which is a little bit expensive. It really is. However, that being said, I bought this just to do content creation on, and that's all it's for. That's all I do on it is content creation. The reason for that is because I like Final Cut over Premiere. That's just a personal preference of mine, is that I enjoy Final Cut. Maybe I just haven't dived into Premiere enough or DaVinci or anything, but I enjoy Final Cut. That being said, though, you have to pick up some accessories with the Mac Mini. And so the accessories that I purchased with the Mac Mini 2020 are an external 5 gig hard drive by LaCie that you can get off the Apple website. It's a USB-C drive. Also picked up the CalDigit TS3 Plus. It's a Thunderbolt hub. It works with the newest Thunderbolt, and it gives you, I think, 16 ports. So it's got USB 3, it's got Thunderbolt, USB-C, an SD card reader, all sorts of stuff. And it's powered. It's also got a powered Thunderbolt port on it, and you can actually use it to charge your MacBooks and things of that nature. So it's just a nice addition. And then lastly, another addition to it is an eGPU. That's right, the Mac Mini doesn't have desktop graphics in it, I should say. It doesn't have a dedicated graphics unit. So I bought a Razer Core X eGPU and matched it with a 5500 XT 8 gig. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on. And so one of the great things about the new Mac Mini, I guess you could call it new. I mean, it's an upgrade over the 2014 or whatever. It's 8th gen processors. It'd be really nice for the 2020 if they would have went with 10th gen or even 9th gen. I guess here's for holding out for 2021, hoping that we see 9th or 10th gens in the Mac Mini. However, it has 4 Thunderbolt ports on the back, which is really awesome. So they're really buying in hard for that dongle life. So with that being said, though, with that many Thunderbolt ports, you can daisy chain and dongle until you can't dongle anymore, really. So there is that, which is a nice plus. It's small form factor, so it takes a small footprint, and it sits easy on the desk. So let's talk about some numbers, looking at it for content creation. So using Final Cut Pro with a 10-minute video, no eGPU or anything, it took 3 minutes and 40 seconds to share roughly a 9 to 10 minute video at Apple ProRes 422. It's not bad by any means, but that was just a base video. Didn't have a whole lot of transitions or color grading or anything like that in it. So when you add that stuff, it will take longer, and that was exporting it or sharing it as a 1020, as a 1920 by 1080p video. Whenever I also tested this with an RX 574 gig and then the 5500 XT 8 gig. So when you do a render with the RX 574 gig for the same video, it took 1 minute and 15 seconds. And that's with color correction on the entire video. And that's like doing crazy color correction, just going wild with it. It took 1 minute and 15 seconds. To share it using the Apple ProRes 422 at 1080p with the RX 570 was 3 minutes for a 9-minute video. Okay, so you can already see adding that RX 570 took the time down by 25% almost. Well, yeah, it's 25%, pretty much. In there. Percentage math is hard, right? So took it down by 40 seconds, almost a minute, which would have been 25%. Now, when you start talking about, if you want to go up to 2K or 4K, you're going to see larger gains, as well as if your videos are longer. So if the math holds up correctly, for say an 18-minute video, it should take 7 minutes or 8 minutes and 20 seconds versus 6 minutes. So, saves you a little bit of time. I can't count. Don't trust me. It's 7 minutes and 20 seconds versus 6 minutes. Okay, so that was with the RX 570. With the 5500 XT 8 gig, to render it, same color correction settings and everything, it took a minute. And so that shaved 15 seconds off. However, sharing it, this is where it really got interesting. To share it with the 5500 XT 8 gig, it took 1 minute and 27 seconds for a 9-minute video, like the other two were. So that took it down by about it was roughly 50%, which is pretty much insane. I didn't expect that. Could be due to the faster RAM or whatever. Higher, just the fact that it's newer architecture and everything. So it took it down by quite a bit, and so that's what I'm using, the 5500 XT. And my shares and renders are actually pretty quick, and so it's a pretty good addition, right? I would not use this without an eGPU. So let's talk about some other performance. We'll talk about Geekbench for a minute. And so with Geekbench, I ran this versus an RX, or not an RX, but a Ryzen 5 1600 AF, which is essentially a 2600, a Ryzen 7 3700X, and a late 2012 Mac Mini with the quad-core 8 threads. So the Mac Mini 2020 in Geekbench put up 1072 on single core. It put up 5810 on multi-core. Okay? The Ryzen 5 1600 AF on single core put 923. On multi-core, it was 5152. The 2012 Mac Mini with the quad core, 8 threads, put up a single core score of 717 and a multi-core score of 2850. Okay, so you can already see that this is like twice as fast as the 2012. Single core performance, compared to the two, there's about 450 point difference, multi-thread or multi-core score, because it is going from 8 threads to 12 threads, is essentially double. The 3700X single core was 1253, and the multi-core was 8715. So it was 8715. The 3700X almost doubled the multi-core score of this Mac Mini. Yeah, I was pretty shocked as well, and also it had a 200 higher score on single core. So I guess that really just speaks to how well Ryzen is doing with AMD's doing with Ryzen. But still, though, I did not expect that. What this really tells me, you could save a lot of money and build a 3700X system and do pretty well. If it wasn't for the fact that I like Final Cut, that's what I'd do. So, let's talk about gaming, right? Yeah, I don't use this for gaming, but I threw on World of Warcraft and playing it at 1440p with the Mac Mini into the 5500 XT through the eGPU. I mean, hey, it played it, right? I mean, there's shouldn't be anything, you know, shocking there. It played it and played it well. Had no problem with it. Didn't try any other games because I just didn't feel like it. So you can game a little bit on it with games that run on Mac. So I guess what you got two options: World of Warcraft and League of Legends. Are those your two options to play games on OS X now? Oh well. So let's talk about who the Mac Mini is for. The new one, at least, or any Mac Mini. The Mac Mini is for people who already have a monitor, like myself, who want to get into the Mac ecosystem, but potentially already have a MacBook Pro, or they don't want a laptop, they want a desktop experience. That's who it's for. It's for those people. So if it wasn't for the fact that I had like 6 monitors hanging here at the house, I probably would have went with an iMac. But I like my desk aesthetic, and I didn't want to add an iMac to it, you know. They're a little bit heavy, so you have to get a heavy-duty monitor mount, and I wouldn't want to have it just sitting on the desk. I want to put it on a mount, a base mount. So it's for those folks. It's for those folks who, like I said, don't want, or those who already have a monitor and don't want to get another one. It is for folks who don't really have the money to punch out for, I guess, an iMac. You know, an iMac is more expensive. So you can get a Mac Mini and a cheap monitor, you know, $100 monitor, and have really good OS X performance. You know, it's cheaper than a MacBook Pro 16. It's cheaper than an iMac 5K. And so to still get that performance, I mean, it's not the greatest performance, but to still get some pretty decent performance, you go with the Mac Mini, which is kind of strange to hear me say. But if you can't afford an iMac, right, then go with the Mac Mini. If just buy a cheap monitor, cheap keyboard and mouse, boom, you can get you a really nice experience for cheaper than an iMac. And then lastly, the Mac Mini is for those people like myself, the IT guys who want to jack around with a Mac Mini and maybe put it in a rack in their server room or whatever. Personally, for the company I work for, we utilize Mac Minis in our development process for DevOps, and so we use a Mac Mini to do as our build machine. And so we've set it up with AWS, and doing DevOps and everything with it to set this up to where it builds our iOS and Android applications and pushes it to the store, to each Play Store respectively, and does it automatic. That's how we utilize it. There's also people who utilize them as a Mac OS server, or people who put them in a rack, do different things with them, because you can use the 10 gigabit LAN with it. You can do a lot of cool stuff with a Mac Mini. And it's small. So you can just, I guess, get like 8 of them and just daisy chain them to death. You can have an entire server. And that's kind of really what I think they went with the Mac Mini, is it's very versatile. The Mac Mini is versatile. And it fits a lot of different niches. Or it doesn't, right? I would like to see more performance out of the Mac Mini, but hey, if you don't want a MacBook Pro and you don't want an iMac because you've already got a screen or you don't have the money, but you want some performance, you want to use Final Cut Pro, go with the Mac Mini. That being said, this setup back here, not cheap. Not cheap at all. Mac Mini, like I said, was like $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, something like that. You start looking at the LaCie hard drive, it was like $150 or $180. The Thunderbolt dock thingy was like $280. eGPU you're looking at, just for the Razer Core, was like $300, and then the GPU is like $225. All in, you're looking at like $3,000 for this setup. Think about that. Recording this video has made me realize that I just need to learn Premiere Pro and enjoy it, because it's too expensive for Final Cut, I guess. And it's not that I'm a Mac snob or anything. I'm not. You know, I've got a couple, but I'm not a Mac snob. I mean, you can't see it, but over here in the corner, I've got a 3700X build with a RX 5700 XT running Windows. You know, it's not that I'm a snob. It's just that I enjoyed Final Cut. I'm starting to ramble. I'm going to link all of the items in the description if you want to go take a look at them. As always, listen, if you like this sort of content with me just kind of sitting down, maybe rambling a little bit, but still throwing out some numbers and showing you that I actually did a little bit of research and took some time. If you like looking, Raspberry Pi stuff, laptop reviews, tablet reviews, other IT nonsense, we're going to start looking at Kali Linux, maybe looking at a little bit of ethical hacking. We're going to look at some stuff in Windows, just some generalized IT stuff. I got some videos coming out. We're going to do PHP. Got some more Raspberry Pi videos coming. There's probably going to be maybe some more Apple videos. I don't know. Then go ahead and subscribe. Leave a like and leave a comment. If you've made it through this entire video, kudos to you. I hope you enjoyed it a little bit at least. That you enjoyed the numbers and all that. And so, as always, have a great day. Stay safe. Practice social distancing unless we're not having to social distance anymore. And then you probably want to go talk to some people. So then you can actually not social distance. I'm not saying the word of why we would have to social distance, because apparently that's a no-no word. So stay safe either way. And stay tuned for more videos coming in the future. We're going to look at some cool stuff, I have a feeling.